Thank you everyone for your patience as we resolved a few sound issues and we are now ready to commence. So I just do want to begin by acknowledging that this meeting is being recorded and video streamed via the Council website and Facebook, and say a good afternoon to councillors, members of staff and the general public. Please be upstanding for our Mayor, Councillor Straub.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Council's opening affirmation is: we, the councillors of Loddon Shire, declare that we will carry out our duties in the best interests of the community, and through collective leadership we will maintain the highest standards of good governance. Thank you.
The Loddon Shire Council acknowledges the traditional custodians of the land upon which we are gathered and pays its respects to elders both past and present. Please be seated.
Yes, thank you all. Welcome to Council's June meeting. We've had to bring our meeting forward to Friday, being Council will be in Canberra next week over our normal scheduled Council meeting date, which the new date was advertised, and we have moved the council meeting to today. Apologies for the delay in the starting of this council meeting. We were experiencing some technical difficulties, as Mr Fitzgerald has touched on. We are under control now, and we thank the Loddon Shire IT team for their prompt work in getting the live stream up and running with the audio. This is some of the challenges that we have been facing with the live stream, and we're glad to be sorted out and can conduct our meeting. So welcome. Thank you for those that join us on the live stream. We don't have any members in the gallery today, but nonetheless, we will move along with today's meeting. Now, to start off with, our apologies, and councillors, Councillor Holt has advised here's an apology for today's meeting. And councillors, can I please have a motion accepting Councillor Holt's apology and granting him a leave of absence? Can I please have someone to move? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. A councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. A show of hands in favour. We accept that, and that is carried. Thank you very much, councillors. Now, councillors, is there any conflicts of interest to declare? Mr Fitzgerald?
Thank you, Mayor Straub. I have a material conflict of interest in item 14.1, which is the CEO Performance Review 2025, and I will be leaving the room during confidential business when councillors consider that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Conflict noted. Councillors, I think we're happy to keep moving on, and our next item is the confirmation of minutes. Councillors, I'll take those minutes as read and ask if there was any questions, comments, queries regarding the minutes of previous before we move a motion to accept. No? I will seek a motion, please, to accept those minutes as stated. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. A councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. A show of hands in favour. And the minutes are carried. Thank you very much. Moving along to item 6.1, the record of council's auspice meetings, and I'll ask Mr Fitzgerald please to deliver those auspice meetings record.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Council's governance rules require a record of the meetings conducted under the auspices of Council to be presented to the next available scheduled Council meeting for confirmation. Details of it must include a record of which councillors and officers attended, a summary of the matters considered, and any conflicts of interest that were disclosed during those items. Attached within this report is a report of 2 meetings with all of those details included. The recommendation is that Council confirm the records of the following auspiced meetings as detailed within this report. 1. The Council briefing held 27 May 2025 and 2. The Council forum held 10 June 2025. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, we're happy for a councillor to move those auspiced meetings. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A councillor to second that. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. A show of hands in favour, and that is carried. 7.1, review of actions. Mr Fitzgerald again, please.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, a document containing the status of actions associated with council resolutions is attached to this agenda report. It is a long-held tradition that Council's CEO reports on the status of those actions so that there's transparency around the delivery. I'm very pleased to report that all 8 actions arising from the May Council meeting resolutions have been completed, and 1 action from the April Council meeting, which was last reported as progressed, is also now complete. The recommendation is that Council receive and note the status of Council resolution actions as attached to this report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, questions? Councillor Wilson, happy to move to the action sheet. Thank you very much. Is there a councillor to second? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. A show of hands in favour, and that is carried. All right, moving along to 8.1 and the mayoral report. I'll deliver a brief verbal mayoral report today on a few key meetings that I've attended over the last month, starting with the Murray River Group of Councils meeting conducted in Wodonga earlier this month. As you've heard me mention a number of times, that Murray River Group of Councils comprises of a 6-council partnership, which this year Loddon is the chair. And with this meeting, we had the opportunity to host the Victorian Local Government Minister, Minister Stakos, in that meeting, and all 6 respective councils had an opportunity to present key topics to the Minister, key topics that the group has been advocating and working on for some time now. So that meeting was very productive. We got a reasonable amount of time with the Minister to present those key topics that the group's been working on, and then a reasonable amount of time for a bit of Q&A. And one thing that I do or must report regarding those conversations is the local government minister is very keen to continue the conversation about local government financial sustainability, and is very keen to help advocate for local governments in regards to federal assistance grants too, with his counterparts in Canberra. So, councillors, this is very positive from our point of view, and as we all know, in our trip to Canberra next week, we'll be forwarding a motion regarding financial assistance grants, and it's great to have that support via our local government minister here in Victoria to help push that. So there'll be more reporting on that as we move along in next month's meeting. Other key meetings to report on today. Council Forum back on the 10th. That was fairly straightforward. Again, we had a great amount of time to conduct council business and workshops and key strategic plans coming forward that we've got in front of us today, like the budget. And the next substantial meeting was the meeting of the Loddon Campaspe group of councils conducted in Bendigo. Very productive meeting again. Bendigo is the host, and we met in Bendigo for this meeting. And again, we were able to host the local government minister again, Minister Stakos. So again, we had another opportunity to meet with the minister and forward again a lot of the similar issues local government are facing, but also expand on those issues to and really reiterate the message back to the Minister about financial sustainability for one, but also in those conversations it was brought up again about the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund, which is very prevalent still in community today, and something that Loddon will continue to advocate on for our communities on. The Loddon Capacity meeting, we also heard from Regional Development Victoria and some of the key projects that are happening there and some funding avenues that will be available. We also had representation from the Department of Transport and Planning through Anthony Judd, and a member from DECA that had a short presentation to keep local government up to speed on the collaboration that we share. There wasn't a lot to report out of that. One thing that I did ask the Department of Transport and Planning was to make sure that council again is in a partnership and has that respect when it comes to communication avenues with the Department of Transport, and making sure there's an ongoing commitment to the communication stream, so local government and Loddon in particular can have those relationships and have someone that'll pick up the phone when we need them. And I think that was important to convey that again straight to Anthony Judd. So it was a great meeting. The next meeting to report back on for me was the North Central Local Learning and Employment Network. The board met for its June meeting and conducted elections for the office bearers within that meeting. Key topics again through that meeting was some policy development regarding, again, risk management, which we always talk about a lot. Other avenues of elaborating and expanding our partnership network with industry, and the responsibility of board members to try and progress networks with industry and local employers throughout Loddon Shire. And I think we've got on a good stead to help expand the network for the benefit of our youth across not just Loddon, but across the whole municipality partnership, including Bullock, Northern Grampians, and we're also starting to work a fair bit more in Gunawarra. More to come as we keep moving through the year within the North Central LEN. And to finish up, yesterday was the June meeting of the Loddon Healthy Minds Network. Again, a very productive meeting, collaborating with our key agencies that we partner with to help deliver mental health services, but also other health services too within the regions. It was a very productive meeting, as mentioned, and there's been a lot of progression even in the last 24 hours coming out of that meeting on some key topics that were discussed yesterday that we can't discuss here in this forum meeting, but nonetheless a lot of work behind the scenes going on there, and that partnership too I believe is really really delivering some proactive I'd say proactive networks and programs for local Loddon people to engage with. So please, if anyone is struggling, reach out and get the help that's needed. Councillors, that will conclude my verbal mayor's report for this month, and I would ask please if someone is happy to move that report be tabled. Thanks, Councillor Weaver. Councillor to second the mayoral report, please. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A show of hands in favour. Thank you all. That is carried. Moving on to 9.1 is our council reports today, and I'm going to start to my left and ask Councillor Angelo if you're prepared for your council report today, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Okay, on the 4th of June, I attended a CMA flood information session at Bridgewater. I also attended on the 13th, I attended a community planning meeting in Tarnagower. On the 17th, I attended a site tour at BioGrow, which was quite informative with Mr. Mayor and the CEO, and that site has definitely taken a transformation on what it once was. And that's about it. Looking forward to next week, going to Canberra with everyone. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. It was a great day at BioGrow. Very interesting facility they've got there. I'll move on to Councillor Wilson, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 10th of June, I participated in the council forum. That evening, on the 10th of June, I joined the Campbell's Forest the first meeting of the new Campbell's Forest Progress Association, as the merging of the two committees that ran the facility and the planning have come together. On the 17th of June, I was lucky enough to be asked to give a talk at the Bridge Community Coffee Morning, which was, I think, well attended and most enjoyable meeting community members as I talked on council, community and cucumbers. And on the 19th of June last night, I was on I attended the online webinar meeting for the Emergency Services Volunteer Fund levy through the Not In Our Name group, which has been established, which is a collective of stakeholders from across the state. There are approximately 30 council representatives, mayors and councillors in the meeting, as well as other stakeholders, to progress where we take this action. But really for June, that's been about it. It's been a short month. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I'll go straight to Councillor Weaver, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On the 3rd of June, I attended the Board Tourism and Development Committee meeting. 10th of June was Council Forum. I'm not sure of the date. It might have been the 31st of May, actually, that I met with Mr. Van also in Boort, and I showed him a few things around Boort. And the Shire has since graded some roads that were a bit dangerous, and they've done an excellent job. The levy works are progressing well in Boort after a bit of a hold up with the very welcome rain that we've had throughout the Shire. That's about all from me, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of the disposal of council assets policy is to provide directions to council staff when disposing of assets. The policy applies to any person who's responsible for assets that are no longer fit for purpose or are excess to requirement, or relating to asset rationalisation. So it's really an update of the policy. The second one there is the land disposal and acquisition policy. So we've separated out these two items. One's around assets, the other one's around land, purchasing and disposing thereof. So the policy's been developed to complement the applicable legislation, because there are a few different pieces of legislation we must comply with, and government policy and guidelines, as well as council's own policies and strategies as well. So what this does is it tries to streamline the process, and that is why the third one there is actually about rescinding an existing policy, because we've been able to integrate it in just to make it really clear and transparent, and so everyone knows where to look to undertake this activity. So the policies have been presented to our Audit and Risk Committee prior to being recommended to Council. And as a result of the processes that we've been through, the recommendation is that Council adopts the Disposal of Council Assets Policy version 4, adopts the Land Disposal and Acquisition Policy version 1, and rescinds the Surrender of Land Policy. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillors, is there any questions, queries or comments regarding the report? We've got a 3-point recommendation in front of us today, as mentioned by Mr Fitzgerald. There's no questions. I will proceed with asking if there's a councillor prepared to move a motion to the effect. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. A councillor happy to second? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo, would you like the opportunity to speak to your motion? No, thank you. Councillor Weaver?
No, thank you.
No, okay. A show of hands in favour, and that is carried. All right. Thank you, councillors. We'll keep moving along. We've got 10.2, which is a pretty big one actually, the adoption of the 2025-26 budget and fees and charges schedule. And I'll ask Director Steadman, please, to deliver the report and the recommendation attached.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, I present to you today two key pieces of our work over the year, with today's report asking Council to adopt the Loddon Shire Council 2025-26 budget and fees and charges schedule after its period of community engagement. In line with Council's consideration of the draft budget and schedule at its April meeting, the 25-26 budget seeks to maintain services and associated infrastructure that are valued by our community, as well as preparing for delivery of the forthcoming 2025 to 2029 council plan. There is key funding for capital projects with an investment of $8.61 million, including $4.79 million targeted to improve our local road network. And this figure is in addition to the $7.54 million that Council is set to invest operationally into road maintenance. We note a significant portion of the capital program, over 44%, is funded through external grants, including the federal government's important Roads to Recovery program. External funding strengthens Loddon's ability to deliver real outcomes for our community without overburdening ratepayers. Councillors, the budget before you today contains an average rate increase in line with the state government's rate cap of 3%, and there is a change noted from the draft budget, however, where, due to its timing, draft valuations for the 25-26 year were used to calculate the rate in the dollar for both general and rural classifications. In early May, confirmed valuations data was received, which showed a slight increase in capital improved value within both rating categories. Therefore, while our total income will remain the same, the rates in the dollar published in this proposed final budget have lowered slightly, as there is an increased total property value to apportion the rates over. I would also like to acknowledge that the 25-26 financial year is slated to see the legislated implementation of the state government's Emergency Services and Volunteers Fund. While this does not impact the proposed budget currently, it may very well feature across future quarterly financial reporting to Council if impacts on revenue streams are realised. Also noted after a nil increase last financial year is a proposed 6% increase in waste management charges, which is reflective of Council maintaining a cost-neutral position on this important service in the face of increasing contract and operational costs. During the period of community engagement on the budget and fees and charges schedule, one community submission from Bendigo Food Share was received as detailed in the report. Our recommendation to councillors today is to encourage the submitters to access Loddon's successful Community Grants program, a program which is part of the budget proposed for adoption today. In closing, while our 25-26 underlying operating result outlines a forecast deficit of $7.13 million, this is supported by strong cash holdings and a forecast surplus for the current financial year. The document being considered today reflects responsible budgeting that builds on our recent recovery efforts, supports critical infrastructure renewal, and positions Loddon to meet our ongoing challenges, particularly around cost pressures, ageing assets, and increased service demands. Councillors, I would lastly like to take the opportunity to acknowledge the efforts of Loddon Shire staff in the preparation of the budget. It is a huge effort to pull together every year, and a particular thank you goes to the financial services team for their work on these documents. In particular, our finance services manager, Deanne Caserta, who unfortunately will be leaving us, and this will be her very last budget for Loddon Shire Council. So, councillors, the recommendation with you today is that council note the late changes in valuations data, and in order to remain within the rate cap, implement the revised differential rate to be struck between categories of rural production and general as follows. A, general, residential, commercial and other at 0.185361 cents in the dollar of capital improved value, and B, the rural production rate of 0.163156 cents in the dollar of capital improved value. That council 2, adopt the 2025-26 budget. 3, adopt the 25-26 fees and charges schedule. 4, acknowledge the submission from to the draft 2025-26 budget from Bendigo Food Share and authorises Director Corporate to provide a response on behalf of council as recommended within the report. And 5, authorise either Director Corporate or Chief Executive Officer to approve changes to Council's 25-26 fees and charges schedule where statutory fees and charges are altered by external parties. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Steadman. Just picking up on Deanne Caserta's finishing here at Loddon, that comes as a shock. But we're very proud of her work and efforts and wish her all the very best and thank her for the dedication she's shown to Loddon over a number of years. Councillors, we have had a number of times to discuss and look at the budget to get to this point. As noted in the recommendation in point 4, there was only that one community feedback from Bendigo Food Share, which there has been a response provided. Councillors, is there any further questions, concerns regarding today's budget adoption, the budget and the fees and charges? I must not forget to mention. Councillor Wilson with a question.
Question on the waste increase on the waste charges. Is that in part because there will be changes to the requirements of collection in what is collected and how it's collected? Or it does not? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. I'll ask, Mr Fitzgerald, please, to just provide a bit more of a comprehensive answer to that, if you don't mind.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Wilson. So the circular economy legislation requires councils to look at 4 streams of waste collection. The timelines on that have been quite fluid, with the 3rd stream, so the 3rd collection stream for glass, which I believe is supposed to commence on the 1st of July 2027. We are still awaiting detail on the requirements around that, so whether that can be provided at a transfer station and landfill or whether it must be curbside where there is existing curbside bins. The 4th stream of that is proposed for, I believe it's 2028, which is organics, with at the moment the draft guidelines on that says with a mandatory opt-out option, which I imagine would be quite applicable to many Loddon Shire residents. So at this early stage, we cannot forecast what the impact on the residents will be because the options are just so significantly different. I do want to just acknowledge the really good work of our works team in obtaining some grants to install glass collection bins at our transfer stations and landfill. So people who do want to access that service can do it already. So yeah, that's a more full response to your question. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald, and thank you, Councillor Wilson, for the question. If there's no further questions, I will ask for a councillor happy to move to today's recommendation. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Is there a councillor prepared to second? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Wilson, would you like the opportunity to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. A couple of comments. Again, I want to reinforce what Director Stedman said about the work that's been done by the team to put this together. It's an enormous effort and very comprehensive. A couple of things I want to just point out about the budget is just, reinforcing or reiterating to the community that 44% of our funding comes from grants. And so there is a very differentiation between what the council collects in rates and what rates are spent on versus what we rely on other organisations to provide to us. Secondly, just noting how interesting it is that the government provide us with a rate cap that we cannot move outside of, yet the government can bring about legislation that increases the rates for the community, which we aren't actually allowed to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Weaver, opportunity to speak.
Nothing really to add. I think Councillor Wilson's covered it very well.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo, no, I might just take a very quick moment to speak to the budget. Although it is stated that there's an underlying operating result forecasted at a 7.13 million deficit, it is backed by a strong cash position projected to be 20.5 million by this time next year. But still the ability to deliver a $8.6 million capital works program is pretty impressive, and it is very challenging to deliver a budget with such uncertainty around forward grants and things like that. But I do believe that it is a balanced budget, and it's got the emphasis on balancing the completion of key important project by being very responsible at the same time. So I do think we're going along fairly well, and we'll be able to have a look at the revised budget in the near future. But at this point in time, I think it's very responsible, and I think it too reflects the values of our communities. So in that, with saying that, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour of the recommendation to adopt the budget, and it looks like that is carried. Thank you, councillors. Very important document to deliver to our community, and thank you for your input over the many months that we've been developing the budget. Okay, our next decision report today is 10.3, the adoption of the revenue and rating plan, and I'll again ask Director Stedman to deliver that report with the recommendation.
Thank you again, Mayor Straub. Councillors, this report is seeking council adoption of the Loddon Shire Revenue and Rating Plan 2025 to 2029. This plan is a legislative requirement under the Local Government Act 2020, and it forms an important part of Council's integrated strategic planning and reporting framework. The plan establishes the strategic direction for how Council will generate revenue to fund services and infrastructure over the next 4 years and builds on previous strategies and plans in this area. It reflects a considered approach to the equitable distribution of rates and provides clear direction on the setting of municipal charges, differential rates, user fees and waste service charges. Importantly, the plan outlines the principles, legislative context and decision-making frameworks used to determine how revenue will be raised across the term. It also details how Council would approach any future variation to the state's rate cap should it become necessary. The plan highlights Council's commitment to financial sustainability, fairness and transparency, and helps to support predictable and stable income planning. It also outlines Council's intention to fully recover waste charges and ensure that rates reflect capacity to pay. A recent period of community engagement on the plan saw no further feedback provided by the community, and as such, councillors, the recommendation today is that Council adopt the Loddon Shire Revenue and Rating Plan 2025 to 2029. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Steadman. Councillors, is there any questions at this point, queries? In that case, I'll ask for a councillor happy to move, please. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A councillor prepared to second the motion. Sorry, Councillor Weaver moved. Sorry. Is there a councillor prepared to second? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Weaver, would you like the opportunity to speak?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think that the team's done a really good job with this revenue and rating plan. I just think it needs to be noted that out of the 79 shires in Victoria, Loddon still has the cheapest rates by a fair margin. And so well done to all involved.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo?
No, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is Councillor Wilson, would you want the opportunity to speak for or against? No. I'll just add that the rates across Loddon make up 41% of our revenue throughout any one given year, and grants commission funding 34%. So it really shows that reliance on that grant funding, which we have always been quite successful in receiving, and I hope that stays the case, but it is going to tighten up with a more competitive market and less available grants for local government to apply for. But again, responsible plan, and we're happy to adopt it by the look of things today. So I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you very much. Moving along to 10.4. Our governance rules review, and Director Steadman again, please.
Thank you again, Mayor Straub. Councillors, this report culminates a recent period of community engagement on proposed changes to Council's governance rules, as well as the legislated gender impact assessment that was undertaken on the proposed changes. The governance rules guide how Council operates as a governing body, making sure meetings, decision-making and interactions are conducted in a fair, open and compliant manner. This review has been undertaken regarding proposed changes associated with public questions at council meetings and the function of live streaming. While it is recommended that the proposed changes regarding public question time are adopted today, in light of public feedback received, it is also recommended to council that live streaming of council meetings maintains its status quo, noting operational changes to improve resourcing and reliability of this service, which is ironic given our issues today. Therefore, the proposed updates to Rule 65, Clause 4 of the Loddon Shire Governance Rules are presented today for Council to consider and adopt. This recommendation today, councillors, is that Council 1, acknowledge findings of the gender impact assessment undertaken on proposed changes to the governance rules. 2, acknowledge community feedback received on proposed changes to its governance rules and subsequently maintain the current Rule 69 recording of council meetings, whereby continuing to live stream council meetings to a social media channel. And 3, amend Loddon Shire Council's governance rules, Rule 65, Clause 4, questions put by members of the public as proposed in the agenda report. Thank you, Mayor Straw.
Thank you, Director Steadman. Councillors, we have spoken about this, these proposed changes a number of times now. Is there any last questions, queries or comments before we, or before I ask if there's a mover to the recommendation? Three-part recommendation in front of us today. Is there a councillor prepared to move? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A councillor to second? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Wilson, would you like the opportunity to speak?
Thank you, Mayor Straw. A couple of comments. I think it's very good to see that when a community member or group poses a question to the council, they need to identify themselves. It's important for the community to own their questions that they want to put to the council, and so we can know who we're dealing with. And secondly, on the live streaming, there was, sorry, just looking for my comment. Councillors engaged in a lengthy discussion on the issue of live streaming. Apparently it originated during COVID as a way around isolation, but the councillors strongly believe that live streaming remain in place, so that's a good outcome as well.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Weaver? No. No, thank you. It is important to the community, the live stream, although we did experience some disruptions today with the IT or the technology that provides the live stream. We do have good support measures through the council IT staff to rectify those issues. And yes, like as said, it is very important to those members of the public who cannot attend in person to come along to Wedderburn and sit in the gallery. And we do thank the community for having their say on these matters. Councillors, we've had a mover and a seconder. I want to show our hands in favour. Thank you. And that is carried. 10.5. Councillors, is the Draft Victorian Transmission Plan 2025. I'll ask Mr Fitzgerald, please, to deliver the report.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, on the 16th of May 2025, VicGrid published the Draft 2025 Transmission Plan for public consultation with a closing date for submissions of the 24th of June, next Tuesday that is. The proposed Victorian Transmission Plan is planning for new energy infrastructure while taking into account the impacts on local communities, landholders, First Peoples, agriculture, the environment and industry. The plan is aiming to avoid over or under investing in energy while maintaining our energy security and controlling the costs. So energy consumers ultimately pay for this infrastructure through their bills. So this plan is about trying to get the right amount, mix and deliverables. The transmission plan will be published later in 2025 once this feedback has been considered. Loddon Shire Council is included within the Victorian Transmission Plan in two areas that they're asking for feedback on as a part of this consultation. Those impacts are the area of Loddon Shire, included in the Northwest Renewable Energy Zone. This area is north and northwest of the township of Bort, which extends into the Gannawarra and Swan Hill Shire Council areas. And there is an image in the report highlighting that in sort of the dark blue colour. The second impact within Loddon Shire is the replacement and upgrade of transmission lines between Kerrang and Bendigo along the existing alignment. This is titled the Northwest Strengthening Program, which is to be completed by 2035. And again, there is an image, image 2, included in this report, which you'll be able to see. Important to note that The VNI West, the Victoria-New South Wales interconnector, is not included within the Victorian Transmission Plan because it's assumed that that's complete. It's already planned for and in progress. So feedback isn't invited on that from us. Councillors, within the issues section of this report, I highlight a number of areas of feedback which have been, I guess, identified through consultation with yourselves and also with a number of community members. It's important to note that Loddon Shire Council is not a decision maker for this plan or for the proposed infrastructure which will come out of it if adopted and implemented. However, we are an advocate for the community, and it is proposed that Loddon Shire Council would make a submission to this plan. The themes for the submission that are proposed include the agricultural values of the land within the draft renewable energy zone. So as I highlighted earlier, that's that area north and northwest of Boort, as well as a little area just above sort of Pyramid Hill. A lot of this land is very good farmland. It's high productivity. It's serviced by irrigation infrastructure, and there has been a lot of private investment go into these zones. So we have to be a bit careful about where this type of infrastructure goes to make sure that we're not creating an issue for any future productivity of that land. So the first area of feedback is suggesting that it would be on the basis of the agricultural values of the land, and highlighting the need to be very careful about the placement of any infrastructure to be on lower productivity land. The second item of feedback is really around the cumulative impact on the wellbeing and engagement of our community. So many in our community have been impacted by VNI West because you may recall all of the different versions of that plan have impacted on a lot of people. As well as floods, mineral sands, project prospecting, really, for renewable projects, and the current dry conditions, amongst many other things. So I guess just the willingness of our community to engage in a 4 or 5 week engagement process online, that's a real challenge, I believe, for the project proponent here, which is VicGrid. So I think the feedback we could consider providing would be around having a bit more robust engagement with our community to ensure that they have engaged it and understand what is being proposed and how that could impact on them. The third point is around the benefits to the community's hosting. So there are some good hooks in this, to give credit where it's due. So within this, they do talk about proposing that communities who host renewable energy projects will see a direct benefit. These benefits should be enduring rather than one-off grants. So we don't want a grant for new netball court lights and then nothing else. It should be an enduring program for the life of this infrastructure in those communities. So we want to see that ongoing support. We also want to see the investment in the economic growth and prosperity of the community. So energy reliability, supporting businesses and households in this area to see the benefits of that infrastructure. The fourth point, councillors, that I'm pointing out is around the landholders who are directly impacted. So there's two groups of these in my view. There are the people who are in the renewable energy zone. This is a large area and it may not be possible to go out and meet with every single one of them because it's just such a vast area. It's just not practical. However, we do want to know that they have been engaged because of those points I raised earlier around their willingness to engage in a bit of a cookie cutter process as far as engagement. The second part of that is the people who are along the existing transmission line easement. We know who those people are and VicGrid knows who those people are, so we should seek that they are in contact with the people hosting this infrastructure because there will be disruption during the process of upgrading that transmission line, and there should be recognition, understanding and potentially compensation for the construction impacts, but also the ongoing disruption to their farm business, because working around power lines does have limitations. Councillors, the fifth and final point that I suggest we would include in a submission is to provide feedback just around the cost shifting to local government. So there are three components that I point out here. So the environmental effects statement, major projects such as this that have an impact go through an environmental effects statements. Council staff, planning staff in particular, are asked to provide feedback on these studies, and they are very significant documents over a fair period of time. We do not get any reimbursement for the time taken to do this work and do this review. The same with the planning permit application. It is provided by the state government, and we are given a referral, so we do that work with no reimbursement. So we are taking our staff resourcing away from their day jobs to essentially provide feedback on other permits, which in the case of small projects is not a huge impost, but when there are very significant projects, we believe there's a cost shift occurring there. And the final one is, in that planning permit process, making sure that council's assets are protected. As you can imagine, in any of these types of projects, there is significant construction effort underway. They use the local road networks. When we're talking about a significant number of trucks and things like that using our assets, there is an impact. So for us, the cost shift is, one, making sure that that's reflected in the planning permit and that there is a make good of any damage, but also the need for us to enforce those conditions at the end of the day. So I think it is worthwhile us including that to ensure it's being considered in the process of this plan. Councillors, the recommendation is that Council 1 authorise the Mayor to make a submission to the draft 2025 Victorian Transmission Plan on behalf of Loddon Shire Council, and 2, that the submission be generally in accordance with the issues identified within this agenda report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. There's a bit in that. We will definitely look at the opportunity here to provide feedback in the form of a submission. It is a growing concern for community. The impost is getting harder and harder for community to bear with the renewables proposed through our area, and of recent days there's been more protest and a number of signs going up around the northern municipality in pushback against these projects. I think we need to take this opportunity to provide a strong submission in a number of categories as mentioned, and really stand up for our community in this one. It's something that we've had a forward look at, and the opportunity to consult with VicGrid at our forum 2 weeks ago or whenever that was, and ask a lot of those questions. And again, a lot of answers were not provided at this point, but this submission process, I think if we have a strong representation, we can definitely help move forward with some of these big issues that we're facing. Councillors, is there any further questions, queries or comments at this point in time before I ask for a mover to the recommendation on those 2 points? Councillor Wilson?
Thank you. I think it's going to be really important for us as a council to reinforce to our communities that we are a stakeholder, not a decision maker, and our role in advocacy needs to be guided by the community. I think that's one of the challenges we've had around the VNI West project, is getting that very clear understanding from the community that they need to guide us in what they want us to pursue, because we are advocates for them, we are not decision makers. So I think we will need to be very clear about that in this, around this project as well.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Is there any further questions? I then will ask for a councillor happy to please move to the recommendation, those 2 points that we do make a submission. Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Is there a councillor to second that? Thank you, Councillor Angelo. Councillor Wilson, would you like to speak any further? Councillor Angelo? No? Okay. In that being moved and seconded, and no further comments, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour to make that submission. Thank you. That is carried. All right. Thank you, councillors. Moving on to information reports. And councillors, we have two information reports today. First being 11.1, the 2025 Local Government Community Satisfaction Survey results. Director Stedman, please, with the report.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, an information report with you today regarding Loddon Shire Council's results from the 2025 Local Government Community Satisfaction Survey. The survey was conducted with 500 residents across Loddon Shire by the firm JWS Research over the course of the last financial year. Key results include an overall performance score of 58, which is up a statistically significant 5 points from 2024's result, rating above statewide and small rural group results. Loddon's highest performing areas were in waste management at 72, up from 70 last year. Recreational facilities also at 72, up from 67, and appearance of public areas maintaining its previous year score of 71. The lowest performing areas from the 2025 survey remain consistent with previous years, being unsealed roads at 36 and sealed local roads at 41, although both of these areas have improved from previous years, and as in previous years we saw feature a number of arterial roads within the roads identified that were problematic by the community, so we'll continue to maintain that education program with our residents. Customer service has again performed positively and in line with the statewide and small rural group averages. And councillors, these are really pleasing results for the Shire, and the recommendation with you for this report is that Council note Loddon Shire Council's results from the 2025 Local Government Community Satisfaction Survey. Thank you, Mayor Straub.
Thank you, Director Stedman. Councillors, is there any questions, queries, comments? We had a really good look at this survey at our forum, and it was very pleasing to see the areas that we're doing well in, and it was great to see that we have gained a few points, but obviously areas still that we can work on, and I think that's as important as identifying the good things as the things that we need to keep progressing and get better at doing. So a great comprehensive survey, and if there's no questions, queries or comments, I will ask for a councillor happy to move that the recommendation that council notes the Loddon Shire 2025 Local Government Community Satisfaction Survey. Thank you, Councillor Angelo. A councillor to second. Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo, would you like the opportunity to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think documents like this just show us, you know, where we're at, where we can improve and help us move on into the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Wilson? Sorry, I've done it again. Councillor Weaver, I apologise.
There's a bit of that going on today, Mr. Mayor.
There is, it's a Friday.
No, I just think it's good to have a bit of community feedback on areas where we can improve, and, you know, just because we're doing something well still doesn't mean we can't do it even better. So thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillors, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you. Our second information report for today is 11.2, the Tourism and Economic Development Quarterly Activity Report. Mr. Fitzgerald, please.
Thank you, Mayor Straub. Councillors, this report outlines the tourism and economic development activity, key operations and projects for the period of January to March this year. The report uses REMplan economic insights, spend map reporting and marketing data to measure economic performance and visitor data. So we're trying to use evidence for how our work is being undertaken and the impact that it's happening. And you'll see a number of graphs within this report that try to unpack that a bit better for you. The Tourism and Economic Development team response to the actions and strategic objectives that are contained within the Loddon Shire Economic Development Strategy and also the Visitor Economy Strategy. So they really guide the work that we're doing. There are quite a lot of highlights in this report, which is always good to read as far as events and economic activity occurring. But I guess the highlights for this period really are the project scoping for the Southwest Loddon Pipeline Uptake Facilitation. So trying to understand the economic impact of that pipeline and ways that we can make sure that we maximise the outcomes from that significant investment from the Victorian Government some years ago, especially during this period where we are in some drier conditions. As well as the obviously further work on the Inglewood Streetscape project, and just a reminder to everyone who may be listening that that is open for feedback at the moment, and we are seeking all avenues for people to provide input into those designs. In addition to that, I guess it's the project planning for the Loddon Workforce Expo, which is to be held in Pyramid Hill in October later this year. That is a really good opportunity, and that's a bit of a first for Loddon Shire to host that really fantastic expo. The period of January to March is really a peak period for tourism as well, and the team did support a range of sports events, cultural events and other community events. And examples of those are the Australian Masters water skiing, the Flavours of Loddon events in Bourton Bridgewater, and many people would have seen obviously the orienteering during that period as well. So councillors, I could expand on that, but it is contained within the report, so just a well done to that team. And the recommendation is that council receives and notes the January to March 2025 Tourism and Economic Development Quarterly Activity Report. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Mr Fitzgerald. Councillor Wilson with a question.
A comment.
Comment, thank you.
Thank you, Mr CEO. Earlier today, the councillors were undertaking CEO's performance review and commenting on the fact that the CEO has taken a very strong lead in the implementation of this strategy is, you know, really positive for the organisation and for the implementation of the economic strategy, and how certainly this sort of reporting, which is at a really high level, is delivering exceptional data for us to decision making and measuring the success of the implementation of the strategy. So, real commendation to David Stretch on this and the CEO for leading it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. If there's no further questions or comments, I will ask if a councillor is prepared to move to the recommendation. Councillor Weaver and Councillor Angelo to second. Thank you very much. Councillor Weaver, would you like the opportunity to speak? No. Councillor Angelo?
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
No? Excellent. In that case, I'll ask for a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Excellent. Councillors, we have no compliance reports to consider today, so we can cross that one off. Councillors, item 13, urgent business. And councillors, we have one matter to admit as urgent business for consideration by council today. The item has been submitted in accordance with the requirements of council's governance rules and relates to the Emergency Services Volunteer Levy. Councillors, can I please have a motion that council admit as urgent business a matter relating to the Emergency Services Levy, please? Councillor Wilson has moved. Councillor Angelo has seconded. Councillors, a show of hands in favour, and that is carried. Thank you, councillors. That has been admitted. Councillors, the urgent motion put forward today states, urgent business item, that Loddon Shire continues to condemn the Emergency Services Volunteer Levy and calls on the state government to immediately repeal the levy, or the tax as it's dubbed, for all Victorian ratepayers, including residential, commercial and primary producers. Councillors, do I have a mover to that motion? Thank you, Councillor Wilson. A seconder, please. Well, it's a bit of a dead heat there, but I'll go with Councillor Weaver. Sorry, Councillor Angelo. It was a tie, but no doubt a good opportunity to speak in a moment. Councillor Wilson first, though. Would you like to speak to the motion?
Thank you, Mayor. Rate notices issued in August of this year will impact residential and commercial properties, as the notice will include the new Emergency Services Volunteers Levy/tax, even though there has been a hold on issuing the tax to primary producers. A couple of examples of how this tax will impact commercial properties can be seen by one Loddon business that will see their current fire services levy increase from $7,500 to $12,500. Another will see their fire services levy go from $28,000 to $71,000. Imagine the impact these amounts will have when the costs are passed on to consumers. There is still a lot of work for local government to undertake to address this tax on behalf of our communities. The key being it requires a collective effort from across local government and other stakeholders. There needs to be a strength in unity on this one. Currently work has been done so our metropolitan counterparts understand its impact on them as well. This will hopefully build momentum to push back against the state government and this law. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Wilson. Councillor Weaver?
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and well said, Councillor Wilson. I just see that in suspending and not repealing, it's still sitting there above it as this tax, and it's only been suspended for primary producers. So it becomes very divisive in our community. Now, in these tough times, we're trying to unite our communities. They're getting attacked from all angles. So I would like to see that government step up here and give everyone a bit of a break. Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo, would you like the opportunity to speak?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I 100% support this motion. As I previously stated, it's unfair, it's unjust, it's un-Australian. I swore an oath when I became a councillor to perform my duties in the best interests of my constituents and community. And this levy, aka tax, is just wrong on so many levels. So once again, I'll appeal to all the other councils and councillors to do the right things for their community and constituents. Thank you very much, Mr Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Angelo. That sums it up pretty well. I will take the opportunity to speak to this motion, in favour of this motion. Today's urgent business item, it does bolster the current urgent business motion passed by Council last month to, again, put pressure on the Victorian State Government to repeal the Emergency Services Volunteer Levy, the tax. As many within our local community would remember, we came out very strong last month and opposed the tax. We called on the Governor and we called on all other Victorian councils to unite. This bolsters that initial ask in uniting the Victorian municipalities again to push back. One thing that I believe was missed, we did hear the announcement not long after we moved our first urgent business motion that the farming community or the farmer ratepayers across Victoria had a 12-month suspension. That's only 12 months, as Councillor Weaver has stated, and I believe without further action we will be in the same position this time next year. But what I think has been missed in the wash-up regarding that initial announcement is commercial and residential ratepayers are probably not fully aware of the impost that this actually puts on their rates notices, and with the announcement of the primary production portion of the emergency services levy, it was completely missed that commercial and residential were still included. So this motion again calls for the Victorian government to reprieve the emergency services tax for all ratepayers and makes that emphasis to include commercial and residential. Councillors, as you're aware, we've had tremendous feedback when we called on all other Victorian councils to unite. We've had very, very positive feedback, and we're in the midst of compiling those responses at the moment. And again, we've put the pressure on Rural Councils Victoria and the Municipal Association of Victoria to work on behalf of council and work on behalf of every ratepayer in Victoria to make sure that this tax is reprieved immediately. Councillors, I think this is a very sensible motion, and it does bolster our previous motion, and it does really convey the sentiment of Loddon ratepayers and all Victorian ratepayers that they don't accept this new tax. Councillors, can I have a show of hands in favour? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you, councillors. Councillors, item 14 today, moving right along, is a confidential item, and council now addresses this item. Now, with the procedure of confidential, it was earlier noted that Mr Fitzgerald, the CEO, has declared a conflict, and the council meeting will now be closed. So just noting that all items listed in parts of the meeting open to the public have now been dealt with. The meeting will now be closed to the public and the live stream cease to allow council to consider one confidential item listed in the agenda, which relates to the Chief Executive Officer's performance review. I thank the members of the public for showing their interest in council matters and call for a motion to close the meeting to the public while council considers the confidential item 14.1, Chief Executive Officer Performance Review 2025. Councillors, do I have a mover and a seconder that the meeting now be closed? Thank you, Councillor Weaver. Councillor Angelo, thank you very much. Do I have a show of hands in favour? And that is carried. Thank you to the public, and we do again apologise for the technical issues we had at the start of today's meeting, but now declare the meeting closed to the public.